on the next episode of Sips, Suds, and Smokes.
Today's episode is a bottle share, but it's more than that. On October 4th, 2022, we lost a very dear friend and member of the Sips, Suds, and Smokes family, David Cornelius Caperton III, a.k.a. Good Old Boy Caperton, passed away suddenly and left a big hole in all of our lives.
There are very few people in the world who are more passionate about Saisons. Good Old Boy Caperton drank them and brewed them. He was a champion for the ones he liked and a pretty harsh critic of the ones he didn't.
We have each brought a beer that either we think Caperton would have liked, we know he liked, or one that reminds us of him. We'll also share some Good Old Boy Caperton stories.
We'll be right back after this break.
Brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking hosts, the Good Old Boys. Suds, Suds, Suds. It's time for more Suds.
Welcome, everyone, to this Suds segment where we don't just sit around and drink beer all the time. I mean, sometimes we have to go to the store and get more beer. That's tough. It's tough all over.
First world problems.
Exactly. Well, I'm one of your hosts, Good Old Gal Juliana, and joining me at the table today is Good Old Boy Kendall.
I am really happy I'm here to be a part of this.
Yay! Reverend Mark, thank you for being here.
Me too. This is a celebration of life.
Good Old Boy Sparky.
And beer. And I'm glad to be here too.
Good Old Boy Dave.
I'm glad all these fools are here at the table with us, except this guy.
What? And Good Old Boy Timmy. Hello.
Hello. Glad to be around good beer, good people, and Dave.
Tim.
Well, today's episode is a bottle share, but it's more than that. On October 4th, 2022, we lost a very dear friend and member of the Sips, Suds, and Smokes family, David Cornelius Caperton III, a.k.a. Good Old Boy Caperton, passed away suddenly and left a big hole in all of our lives.
There are very few people in the world who are more passionate about Saisons. Good Old Boy Caperton drank them and brewed them. He was a champion for the ones he liked and a pretty harsh critic of the ones he didn't.
So today, just like any group of beer nerds would, we have each brought a beer that either we think Caperton would have liked, we know he liked, or one that reminds us of him. We'll also hear from a couple of the Good Old Boys who couldn't join us today. And we'll also share some Good Old Boy Caperton stories as we go along. Good Old Boy Kendall, why don't you give us the Suds ratings for today?
We'll be discussing and rating these beers with these Suds ratings, plus our signature belching sounds. Here are those ratings now. 1, that sucks. Give me anything but a bud. 2, was that a belch? 3, what a relief. 4, a body should really not make that sound. And 5, listen to that hang time. Give me another.
Thank you. Okay, so to start things off, let's start with Reverend Mark. What did you bring today?
I brought something very fresh and supposedly because of that, it's seasonal, which is what Saison translates as seasonal.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. And so it is the Yazoo's anniversary birthday Saison. It is a collaborative that they have done with Perennial. And the malts came from a local, or I guess regional maltster, Riverbend. And so it's put together with Pilsner, Vienna, and rye malts. And the reason I chose this, well, there's several good reasons, but as we think about our dear friend Caperton, this is a collaboration. And, for me at least, as I, got to know Caperton over the years, there are a lot of things that we shared with each other. He was a very special person on different levels. Some of our life journeys were very similar. But as we would talk about Saisons, what are you going to brew next? What's going to be in your grist, so forth and so on. We were kind of collaborating. And I think, this is one style where, that is kind of the way, sort of the boundaries are not all that tight on what these beers are comprised of. And so I think this kind of is symbolic in a way of what Saisons are about historically, and kind of the, the collaborative spirit that I always felt with our dear brother.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. And also, he spent so much time in St. Louis that I feel that this is very appropriate, because he spent a lot of time at Yazoo and he would talk about St. Louis all the time.
And plus, I met my wife at Yazoo. So,
There we go.
And there's that.
and then there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this beer? Kendall, what do you think about it?
It's a nice little Saison. I would call it a gateway Saison.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a lot of those intense flavors you get from some of them.
Yeah.
But it's one that I think any beer drinker would enjoy. It's really approachable, and it's easy drinking and a good introduction to what Saison is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, historically Saisons were very, of course they were brewed more in the later fall, winter, and then kept over until the summer.
For the farmhands.
And for the farmhands. So they really were kind of table beers, and they were kind of like the Belgian equivalent of just a pale ale. And so, I think, in that way, this is kind of within the style parameters of what we're, speaking about. Of course, we will be getting into other interpretations, which are going to be far more incredible. But this is
There's no ABV on this can, but I would call it a petite Saison. It feels very
it's
low ABV.
Very, very much so.
right.
Yeah. Sub 5, I would.
Like-
Oh yeah,
it was,
Right.
feels like it.
This would be a great gateway Saison for, like a Nashville on a party bus. Like,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, it's very crushable though. You
And
can
then we just fooled them into drinking a Saison. Aha,
Yeah.
take that.
easily drink a few of these.
You
on
just
a hot
drink
day.
a real beer.
So
yeah.
actually, this is 5.5% ABV.
Wow, a little bigger than I thought.
Yep. And it says a classic French Saison ale in collab with their friends from Perennial Artisan Ales, brewed with Pilsner, Vienna, and rye malts from Riverbend, with a special yeast from Escarpment Labs, and dry hopped with New Zealand hops.
Well, that's the problem. It's French.
It's interesting that they
right.
use the New Zealand hops on it. That's
Yeah.
kind of an interesting turn. But it's still a nice beer. It's very. I'm not always a huge Saison fan. I think sometimes to Mark's earlier point, I think they get a little more, out there. But I think this is one that, even if you are not traditionally a Saison fan, it's still kind of even keeled enough that you can really enjoy it.
And I love that it's in a 12-ounce can. So, this could be the perfect lawnmower Saison.
Saison in a can, dude.
That's not what you normally
totally.
run into.
Which I think Caperton would have really liked.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
pop
And
open.
another whole thing we could get into, but I'm sure we don't have time for, is that a Saison is a farmhouse ale, but not all farmhouse ales are Saisons.
True.
So,
True.
That
you just blew everyone's mind.
No, but yeah, you're so right. And to me, this is so of what Caperton
He could take these
was.
camping. you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, like I could see him that like most of us would have a lager, a pale ale, or something else to bring to the campsite.
No,
Nah,
he would
he'd
take
be bringing
some
this.
Saison.
Yeah,
100%. 100%.
he'd totally be bringing this. So, what shall we rate the birthday saison from Yazoo?
I'll give it a...
Yeah, it's a really nice 4. Thank you so much for bringing this, Rev Mark. It's
Delighted.
It's beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Okay. Moving on to our next one. How about we go with good old boy Sparky?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, thanks. So what I brought is I think it's actually a beer that Caperton brought. It's Barrique's Petite Sipper. And I think he had a very special place in his heart for Barrique and all the amazing things they're doing there. And I'll tell you with Caperton, I think, just one thing about him is I think his first of all, just loved having a conversation with him because he was just, such a deep guy.
Yeah.
And really, his hatred of kudzu was only matched by his hatred for Nazis. And it was always nice having discussions with him.
That's right.
On that
Caperton
front.
versus the alt-right was...
Yeah, it was always a good time, man. Like, good Lord. He was... never want to get in a fight with that guy because you're going to lose, like, probably physically. I mean, I'm a wee lad. He
was a little intimidating.
Well, I think he would beat you physically, but also intellectually. He could really,
no question about it.
He knew his stuff.
So yeah, but just a wonderful friend to have, and like at any beer festival, and Tim, it seems like I bump into the two of you guys like randomly.
Yeah, we definitely tag teamed a lot of beer festivals together. He was always like one of the first people to buy tickets, and I would always be the person that didn't buy the tickets. And then when it approached and I couldn't find a free ticket, I'd be like, "Hey, any chance you got a ticket?" Yeah, sure. Come join me. And then he was the easiest person to find at a beer festival.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's like up here. For a short guys.
Yeah, he was what? 6'4", 6'5"?
I think 6'5".
Yeah, had to be.
Big guy.
But he always wore those huge platform guar boots that would always
Hey, he had a special look.
Just look
Doc
for
Martens.
Look
just
for
like
the big.
He
Look
did.
for the big beard, and everything. Yeah.
But I guess the last thing I say is just like it was always just like whenever I go to a brewery or anything like that. Oh, Caperton's here. This is great. It doesn't matter what happens today. Like, oh, he's here. This is gonna be a fun time. We're gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. There will be some opinions.
Exactly. Like when you say what's up, it's not like a rhetorical question. He's like, well, it's tough to tell you.
Here it's coming.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be back with more musings on beer and Caperton in just a minute. Welcome back, everyone. Today is a special episode as we pay homage to our dearly beloved good old boy Caperton. And good old boy Sparky brought the Petite Sipper from Barrique Brewing and Blending here in our backyard in Nashville. It's a 3%, I counted 3% ABV farmhouse ale / saison. Wow. It's their sour table saison re-fermented with Tennessee-grown watermelons. So sweet watermelon juice is balanced with a touch of cucumber flavor from the watermelon rind that they use in this beer. The saison is more on the gentle side with a light to moderate acidity.
This is delicious.
It is beautiful. And watermelon can go so wrong in a beer.
Oh, the worst.
But when it's done well, I still think about the one we had out of Colorado.
Yes. From the...
That brewery, the one in Colorado.
Dave, your favorite brewery in Colorado. The one that did
Trinity?
the watermelon. No, the one that did the watermelon.
Pipeworks?
Oh, no.
See?
Black Project?
That's why we should
Watermelon
No.
Dorado.
I can see it.
remember
It's
that.
the skull.
Course.
It's the Scully series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It starts with a P.
Paradox?
Paradox.
Paradox.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the best watermelon beer I've ever had.
But then-
this one
Yeah, and also, sorry,
Almost stands up to it.
there was one from
Haw River.
yeah, from Haw River and
Rind,
yes,
which we had with Caperton.
Yes, we did.
At the festival.
State of
put on
Origin.
by- State
This
of
is-
Origin by Fontaflora Festival. Yeah.
And the watermelon in this is so flavorful. And
It is.
Just, it tastes like watermelon. It's not fake at all.
Yeah, it's not like that
not.
candy, awful Jolly Rancher watermelon grossness.
And I would have never thought of watermelon in a Saison, but it works really well.
It does, and I totally am picking up on the cucumber piece, which also just like really locks it all in.
I like this.
and good old boy Mike likes it. So
It's got to
it's
be
a
good.
winner. It's
Yeah.
a winner. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the moment that I tasted this watermelon, it just brought me back to
Yeah.
the State of Origin because I think we went back to that place like 4 or
Over
5
and
times.
over.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for that
sure.
for that watermelon, and it was rindy too. In fact, it might have even said rind
Well,
in
when
the.
we went to
That was the name
GABF
of the beer.
and we saw
Well,
the
yeah.
Paradox beer, Reverend Mark found it first, and like we all, once we all got in line, we kept going back and back.
Oh yeah.
Back through that line.
And even Mike was like behind the counter.
Yeah, he was like
talk,
talking
as
how
only
how
Mike
many
could do.
pounds of watermelon did you put in this? And
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, he was blown away. And then we were trying to like go to every package shop we could.
Yeah, just to find
it.
bottles of
some.
it.
Yeah. And then remember we were in we were outside of Denver when we found it. It was
Yeah.
just random.
Yep.
And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, they've all been here.
Yeah.
I
Everybody's
don't know
been,
why. It's like tucked in the back."
people been picking through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's freaking awesome. Jerk.
such a delightful beer. And 3%?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's like
No.
it's pretty much a
How do you get this much flavor in 3%?
It's
Right.
crazy.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. This is absolutely
It's
stunning.
not too sour.
No, it's a nice balance,
Just,
like
yeah,
acidity.
tart, but yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I think Dave would have been happy too, just because he was always like a home fan, right? Of our local guys
Yeah,
that didn't.
when
suck.
they got it right, he would cheer him on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and he was a fan of Joel.
Oh, for
Like
sure.
from
Absolutely.
the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge, yeah.
And the Yazoo beer that Reverend Mark brought, I mean, same thing like Sparky said about cheering on the locals when they do great things and things like that. Like he was a big, he's a,
Calling them out when they suck.
well, I was gonna say
also,
he'd
he
wear him
would.
out on the other side, though.
But,
yeah,
but then that made his like positive opinions more valid, and he's not just blowing smoke up
Right.
your butt. You
Right.
know, like
That's a great point.
he would let you know, and so I remember going to Yazoo there with him a lot, the old tap room, and when he was when the Embrace the Funk stuff started going, he'd join the clubs and the mug clubs.
Yeah.
and I think he had mugs places he wouldn't really even go that much, but he's like, oh, they started a mug plug club that
Yeah,
I want some
someone-
money, so I'll give him some cash.
hook him up. Yeah, I just remember like every other time he would come here to record, it'd be a story about some Facebook battle
Oh
that he got into.
Oh
like,
my god! Every time,
Yeah, man. Some of those were just like absolutely brutal, and but do not want to go head to head against him.
for real, man.
Yeah, for real. Well, okay, so what shall we rate the petite sipper from Barrique? Yeah, this one is a resounding 5. This is beautiful. Good old boy Sparky, thank you so much for bringing this. Yeah. Okay, now let's move on to good old boy Kendall. What did you bring, good old boy Kendall?
Well, I went and checked my beer fridge and cellar first. And surprisingly, I did not have any Saisons. That's probably because I don't sit on them. I drink them. So
Well, that's probably good. You
kind
don't
of,
sit on. That would be
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I stopped by one of my favorite stores here in town to pick up that has a good beer selection. And, I just, I was looking for something classy. So when I think Saison, there's really only one beer that ever comes to mind. So I saw it. They had it in small 12-ounce bottles.
Really?
In a 4-pack, which I almost picked up, and then I saw the big boy, the Cork and Cage Saison DuPont.
Yeah.
And you really can't talk about Saison without talking about Saison DuPont. It is really the prototype. I feel like it is Saison. Every other Saison is trying to be Saison DuPont, at least in America. And I've actually heard brewers say, yeah, our model for this beer was Saison DuPont. We're just trying to do that one. And it's just a fantastic classic. And I don't know if I really talked at length to Caperton about this beer, but I'm guessing he liked it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, but people trying to replicate this, it's like you start painting and you want to paint the Mona Lisa. Like,
right.
Yeah. Good, good try.
Yeah.
Go for it. Pat on the head.
Go for it. Good job, young lad.
But, it's just a beautiful Saison. It's always going to probably be my favorite. If I'm in a mood for Saison and I'm in a beer store and there's 5, 6 on the shelf, but there's this one, I'm probably going for this one because I know what I'm going to get.
It's a safe bet.
It's a safe bet, and it's a fantastic beer. And I can't drink it without thinking about Dave and just miss the guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've got a good Dave story if we have time for it.
Go ahead.
We do it.
So we talked earlier about how Dave could be an intimidating presence at a beer fest. And
No.
well, if you got on the wrong side of Dave, and this is what's funny is my first real experience with Dave was at the very first Funk Fest, and I think I accidentally cut in line in front of him.
Oh no!
Oh, you didn't.
Yeah, and I remember Dave looking down at me, and I'm 6'2", so I found Dave a very striking presence. He was much bigger than I am. He looked down at me and gave me the side eye and said, "Oh, so that's how it is now." I think this was like, I don't know when the first Funk Fest was, 2012, 2013, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
probably.
But, to my, I would say in my defense, there weren't really lines at Funk Fest.
No, it was a lot of people.
It was a free for all.
But I think I got between Dave and his beer, and he was not happy about
that was
that.
the important thing right there.
Yeah.
But I still think about that memory. I don't know if we ever really talked about it because from after that, Dave and I got to be friends, and I loved the guy, and he seemed to tolerate me. And I miss him so much, but I still remember my first real close-up experience with Dave was quite scary.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think a lot of people would probably say that.
Yeah, don't get between Dave and his beer.
Yeah.
Right.
No, definitely not.
Right. So for those of you that don't know what we are talking about in terms of the beer, this is Saison DuPont from Belgium. This is a 6.5% ABV Saison. It is a world classic beer and the yardstick for one of Belgium's most important beer styles, which, yes, I could say that. It is the most admired and imitated Saison in the world.
Yeah.
A strong, vital yeast is key to full attenuation and thus to the style. Saison DuPont is straw-colored with a dense, creamy head.
Yes.
Yes, we can totally attest to that. The nose is alive like fresh baked bread. Estery with citrus and spice notes, full-bodied and malty. It sparkles on the palate and finishes with a zesty hop and citrus attack.
I think those citrus notes
Amen.
are what really
Oh, yeah.
jump out at this. Like beyond all other Saisons, this one, it's so lemony and like bright and fresh.
But
It's
yeah, it's
ridiculous.
earthy and it's bready and it's got so much going on with it.
Yeah.
It's such a complex beer.
Yeah, and there's a little creaminess in there too, and it's just, and no matter if you drink it cold, if you drink it warm, it's just so layered, you know. And to me, it's a lot more than a 6.5%. It's just huge, you know, in flavor.
Superb beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because I think more than a lot of styles, Saison can mean so many things.
That's true.
True.
And even here at the table, we have sour Saisons, which in my mind are a whole new ball game. And I kind of struggle to call those Saisons, to be honest, because you don't get that yeast-driven character. But, you know, whatever. That's just me on my high horse pulling a Caperton. But what's crazy is even all the different, you know, Belgian and French and different yeast strains that you can get and how varied the flavors can be. When someone says Saison, like Saison DuPont flavor is what pops in your mind or in your mouth or
Yeah,
something.
like automatically.
That whole profile.
And even though you did point out it's yeast driven, and that's what most people think, but this has a wonderful bready malt, backbone holding it up.
Absolutely.
Well, there's very few beers that when you say a style, there's one beer that you think
Comes to mind.
Like, when you say like Pilsner, it's Pilsner Urquell. That's what you think of. Or, I'm sure there's, like a stout. I mean, Irish stout, you're going to think of Guinness or whatever. But
what about a raspberry slushy ice beer?
Actually,
I would say
Dave's going to review that.
Yes.
It's his favorite.
That's one of good old boy Mike's favorite beers.
Oh, it is.
I like it.
Yes. Yes.
And what is ridiculous in all this is if you were to have said that, good old boy Caperton could tell you who made one of the best raspberry slushies.
Yeah, he was an early adopter.
He loved
He did
slushy
beers. Yes.
Yeah,
It was
beer
weird.
slushies was
Slushies and saisons.
that was his two things.
It just
man.
doesn't even add up.
There were things that he would like that you're like, oh,
Yeah,
really?
you're
Really?
into that?
Really? Are you screwing with me? No, you're serious,
So
right?
you,
Yeah.
you are
Yeah,
really into anime.
Because we got him a T-shirt.
We did. We got,
in Durham, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
remember
So when he would go to after we surprised him by getting him that,
Yeah.
and then it seemed like every fest he went to afterwards, he was sporting that shirt.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny to see this big, tall man,
Biker-looking dude.
right?
Yeah.
Biker dude
Bearded, yeah.
who had a thing for slushies.
Yeah.
I think he wanted people to come at him with their hot slushy takes, and he was
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah,
to,
sure.
Ready
Oh,
He's
yeah.
ready to start that conversation.
Oh yeah.
start that slushy
put you,
war.
He'll put you down.
Oh, he could. I mean, his verbal punches
Oh, man.
They were
were
strong.
extraordinary.
He had the wit, man.
He did.
Oh yeah, just like cutting amazing wit too. And I don't know, I feel like his, the last couple of years, of course his lovely wife Courtney, passed away from cancer after a long battle, and God, she was such a badass attorney. And then his dog Laddie, and just man, it's kind of a sad.
He was taking the hits.
Yeah,
he was taking the hits, man.
He was, but he never.
He kept going.
He
Yeah,
kept going,
yeah,
man,
he
and
never
just
let it
finding
show.
new
Yeah.
loves and passions and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's a lot to carry around and not really let it.
And almost always had a smile on his face. And a great,
Yeah.
great smile.
Yeah.
Or a scowl if you cut in line, you jerk face.
Yeah, really.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it's going to be, huh?
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
right.
yeah, totally.
That's how you want it. Let's go.
All right.
I was a little scared.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so would you think that, with this being the reference standard of Saisons, I think at some point he tried to brew just like this. Because I remember tasting one or two of his Saisons that were a bit on the citrusy side of things.
Yeah, he was always kind of going for that ultimate Saison recipe, I feel like.
Yeah, it was always evolving.
And he wouldn't always let you try his stuff.
No, I had one of his beers
Yeah.
ever. I don't. Yeah.
I had two, but I had to beg. And I begged hard.
For you, I'm sure.
And
you
I
would
think
make
there
an
was
exception.
a trade of like records at the time of vinyl.
Maybe the slushy T-shirt. did
Yeah,
it.
maybe that put it over the edge. I don't know. But yeah, I just remember there being a citrusy one. So, he also tinkered with some herbaliness too.
Yeah, well, I remember for a while he was really into trying to do some tea beers.
Yeah,
which
and
I was
like a
into
tea
for
saison,
a while.
yeah.
Yeah, and so he would just kind of find some pretty creative outlets and sort of go down the rabbit hole on them. I remember, I think Saison Dupont. I think this is the one like it mentions even the yeast fully attenuating. I feel like this is one that needs something else to finish it out. Like the yeast is it's pretty well known for stalling in the middle of fermentation. And I feel like I remember him struggling with that sometimes too. And
You just got to shake the crap out of it.
yeah, a new. I think
Well-
add Brett towards the. No, that's not.
No, I thought he had mentioned something about adding a little champagne yeast at the end to jumpstart it.
It was some
again,
other thing to
right?
finish it off. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That makes a lot more sense.
Interesting.
Yeah, which I just it blew me away. I'm like, why would you add that? You don't want it dry, but he's like, well, you got to get it going again. And I was like,
Well, if you add just
okay.
a little bit, though,
Right.
if it pops
well,
it off.
right. He
yeah.
wouldn't add a full pack, and I remember him saying that he was tinkering with the recipe, but Anyways. Okay. So in the grand scheme of things, if we were to rate this,
It's a 1.
yeah, it's like number 1 in our hearts.
Can this be our first 10?
The Saison DuPont is at least a 5.
2 5s.
2 5s at least. Okay.
It's 2 5s.
Well, thank you.
I
Okay.
can give it 3 if you want.
Well, of course. All right. Good boy Tim, what did you bring today?
So I brought also a Saison, in case you weren't expecting that.
Not at all. Not at all.
And so
I think Tim brought a can of foam.
I did. Yeah. Well, it's a good sign because this is what Saison DuPont did as well. Took a while to
behave itself,
settle down.
Foamy, don't you know me?
So I brought the Saison from OEC Brewing out of Connecticut.
I didn't realize you liked that brewery. That's weird.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that at all.
You never drink their beers.
Yeah, I get their beers every now and then.
Once or twice.
Yeah, I have family that live in Connecticut, and they're very generous with stopping by the brewery. So I don't. This is definitely not a beer that I had with Caperton because I think it's new and I've never had it. This one's brewed with grains of paradise, but obviously many Saisons throughout the years with them. So it was I kind of just wanted to see what I had in my cellar that might sort of call his name. And the other option was a different OEC beer. So the runner up, I would say, I was thinking of getting something from Saint Somewhere.
Oh, okay.
But
he was a fan of Bob.
He loved Bob almost as much as Julie.
Almost as much as me.
You know, no one loves Bob as much as Julie, but
not even Bob.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not even Bob's wife.
What?
Boy, you love Scratch too.
Oh man,
Scratch.
Good Lord.
You know, Blackberry Farm Saison was another one of his favorites too. So
I remember during COVID they did Rhizome actually did the like Blackberry Farm tasting,
right?
And I remember
that Rhizome at home.
Yeah, so he came over to my house. There was like a whole charcuterie board and cheese, and he loved his meats and cheeses. And I think that was the first time I had the Blackberry Farms IPA, in the green can.
That was good, yeah.
That thing's so good.
Wow.
But yeah, the classic Saison, we did the can versus the bottle.
Well, we'll be back with more in just a minute. Welcome back, everyone. Today is a very special episode as we pay homage to our beloved good old boy Caperton. And good old boy Tim, right before the break, we were talking about his Saison from OEC, which is Ordinum Eccentrici Culturis. And forgive me for butchering that. They're a brewery from Oxford, Connecticut.
Oh, Oxford. Of course they're going to use fancy words.
I know, right? Well, what good old boy Tim brought was their Saison, which is 5.5% ABV, using a classic single infusion mash with Belgian Pilsner and Vienna malt, along with locally grown unmarked wheat and rolled oats from the Thrall.
When they start rolling them oats, man.
Oh boy.
Say that 10 times fast. It is spiced with grains of paradise prior to its warm open fermentation using a traditional Saison yeast. The result is beautifully citrus forward, zesty, dry, and refreshing. Perfect for a hot summer day. And today is a hot summer day, so how appropriate is that? Yes.
What are grains of paradise?
They're actually so it's a type of pepper.
Yeah, little seeds.
And actually, like Sam Adams Summer, that's like one of the main ingredient, like flavoring agents in that. But
But is it a type of pepper?
Yeah, so they actually give like a little peppery kind of flavor.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
A little bit of spice.
There's a few beers that actually use it. Some Belgian beers, I think, actually use grains of paradise in there, and it's
But it's a peppercorn.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
They're tiny, but they're flavorful, like me.
Well, it makes sense because Saison, when I tell people who don't know what a Saison is, I feel like kind of peppery is one of the
for sure
main descriptors of, not all, but a lot.
Well, some of that you get from the yeast, but
for sure. But
Yeah, but then this would just enhance that.
amp it up.
Right.
pump up the
like
volume. Dance.
Yeah, this is really, really nice. Very easy drinking. Very summery.
I was really impressed, frankly, how much head there was in it. I think Dave, you poured it and there was
it
a
was all
millimeter
head.
of beer and the rest was head. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's can conditioned or something.
Yeah, I mean, it
It's a
seems like
possibility.
it.
I mean, we
yeah.
all like a little head, but I mean, sometimes it gets to be.
Well, I was just saying that that's kind of cool. I mean, I feel like it was probably because it was can conditioned. So they kind of went above and beyond.
Yeah, because it's not overcarbed or anything.
Not at
like
all,
that.
not in the slightest.
No,
No.
once it settled, it was spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful, easygoing, very very summery, and yeah, I could see Caperton drinking a lot of these.
Yeah,
This would be
I would
one of
enjoy
the
it.
things he would bring to the campsite in the summer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the beauty and it's complex but also simple, sort of.
Yeah.
I think that's he was kind of the same, I guess.
Come over.
Oh,
Complex
Yeah,
with something.
totally.
Come over. He'd whip a couple of those out of his backpack and
I know.
pop them on the
Yeah,
table.
Excuse
with
me while I
the
whip
with the
this out.
sly smile on his face.
He
yes.
would always come over with a backpack on.
Yeah.
I know.
That's true.
I know.
Like, I think-
and it's you're not in college, dude. Why
Yeah,
the backpack?
Right. My neighbor's like, who's this drug dealer? I'm like, he's just got great beers in his backpack. And
Yeah.
Always.
Always.
That's his drug.
yeah.
The beer is the drug.
Well, that was one of them.
He had some other fun treats sometimes, I guess, but
Well, but
Facts.
anyways, yes. Okay, so what shall we rate this beautiful OEC Saison from?
Give it this.
Yes,
Yeah.
good solid 4. Thank you so much for bringing this, good old boy Tim.
Yeah. Cheers.
This is beautiful.
Oh, it's delicious.
Well, now a word from our no, not our sponsor, but a word from our boss, good old boy Mike.
All right.
Hey, this is Good Old Boy Mike, and I wanted to introduce a beer that I got to share with Caperton. It is from Yazoo Brewing, from their Embrace the Funk series, and this beer is called Saison du Bois. There have been a lot of batches of this beer over time, and I thought this was a great beer, very indicative of a common conversation I've had with Caperton. We used to hang out at the Yazoo tap room quite a bit and would enjoy both beers that were, always coming out, both from the clean line and the sour line. And Saison du Bois was something that was introduced before, right about the time they moved to the Madison, Tennessee tap room. And this particular beer is, right on spot for the style. And I think that's one of the things I always enjoyed, about Caperton was he was just so quick to recognize how well a Saison would have been, brewed. And there was many times that he would say, look, I'm sorry, but this is not a true Saison. And a lot of it was, the choice of, the mash bill or the culture that they would use, for that particular Saison. This particular Saison, this is batch 5, Saison du Bois, again from Yazoo Brewing, is a rustic Belgian farmhouse ale brewed with Pilsner and oats, fermented with a classic Wallonian yeast, and aged for 6 months in French oak puncheons. It has a soft mouthfeel. The base grains are wheat and rye, and that generates a lot of simplicity, which is really the way that you should end up describing most really good Saisons. They use their house culture, and the house culture there at Embrace the Funk, it's fairly right on spot always. It's kind of tart up front, and it's slightly acidic on the back end. This particular Saison has a bit of a dry finish, so if you like those farmhouse ales or Saisons that are kind of creamy, this is not your thing. If you like the ones that are more like a champagne yeast, a lot of Saisons will use something like that. This is definitely not going to be this. This is definitely stepping down that Belgian lambic style kind of farmhouse ale that you would typically look for. So I hope you'll definitely reach out, check out this beer. There are new batches that are being released all the time. Some of the batches are slightly different, but I really enjoyed this one. Well, I'll let the rest of our co-hosts chime in and let you know what they thought about this beer.
All right.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, this is everything I would expect out of like a true Caperton-y kind of loving beer. You know?
Yeah.
It's all the funk.
Yeah,
All
it's
the
super
funk.
funky.
It is. I think it's probably one of my favorite Yazoo beers. Might be my favorite Yazoo beer.
It's
actually.
a good one.
I remember
It's
having
solid.
it at the tap room, like Mike was saying, when they'd have 2 or 3 embrace the funk options on draft.
Yeah.
I just remember just drinking so much. It goes down so easy,
It really does.
even for a sour. But compared to some of their other sours, I think it's a little more restrained.
Well, this is like one of the Embrace the Funk beers that doesn't peel your paint.
exactly.
You know,
but I like that though, because you don't have to worry about brushing your teeth. It's just kind of
sure, just
Yeah, because there's no
Yeah.
more enamel left.
yeah. If you have no
Rips around.
enamel, you don't have to protect it. Sure.
And it's crazy how, there was a time where this style of beer was all the rage and you couldn't get enough of it, and now, like, after being so Pilsner and lagery driven this past year for myself anyways, coming back to something like this, it makes me appreciate it even more. And
Yeah.
and I feel like there's peaches there, even though there isn't peaches there.
Some kind of stone fruit
yeah,
action.
exactly.
Right.
That I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I kind of miss this. And
No, this is a tasty little beer.
yeah,
So-
it really is. And I could totally see why Mike thought of this
Yeah.
for Caperton.
Yeah, it has that, kind of approaching a lambic. It's not
I could just see Mike
nearly as complex. But
Mike and Caperton, like, if you'd have to know both of them to just know how ridiculous it is for the two of them to sit there and have a discussion about beers because,
stronger opinions have not been had.
like, yeah.
Dude.
But the cool thing was that both of them were right at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
With very
Different versions
happen
of
often.
right, but
Yeah.
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 totally right.
The most right that any people could ever be.
Yeah.
Ever.
Just imagine two
Yes.
bulls in a pasture,
yeah. Oh, yeah. But yet, no blood was ever drawn. Amazing.
True that.
Yeah.
Always mutual respect.
The mark
Yep.
of true friendship, for
Yeah.
sure. Well, what shall we rate? Yeah, as if there was a doubt.
It's a beautiful beer.
Yeah, the Yazoo Saison du Bois, we shall rate a 5. It is beautiful.
Benson Dubois.
Okay, good old boy Dave. What did you bring today?
So I brought a beer that reminded me of not only of Good Old Boy Caperton, but and it's probably, I don't have a lot of Good Old Boy Caperton stories, but I had a lot of good times with him. But I have one really good Old Boy Caperton story. And so what I brought was the 2018 Haw River Funk the Flying Dragon, which is like a sort of a sour kind of Saison farmhouse ale, 6.2%. It's a dry hop tart Saison brewed with trifoliate oranges, floral zest, and sour juice, aged on local trifoliate oranges, then dry hopped, which trifoliate oranges, I'm not sure are real oranges.
I was going to say, it sounds like what powered the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
those the chocolate orange?
No,
that's
they're fuzzy
trefoil.
oranges.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like
very
fuzzy oranges.
Yeah.
Don't eat the fuzzy oranges.
I was
by
going to
the way.
say, I've seen some of those pop up in my refrigerator, but that's not how they started off.
yeah,
They make the kids all wacky.
It's nice.
But I remember, so this is from 2018. It's been sitting on our cellar. So, I do know that Caperton tried this back in 2018. And he liked it, so that was part of the reason. Part of the other reason is that we drank some Haw River on a takeover show we did after Julianna and I went. They're in Saxapahaw, North Carolina. which is an awesome place. If you've never been, you should visit. But also, we tried some of their stuff at the State of Origin Fest that Tim was talking about earlier. And that's where my good old boy Caperton story takes place.
Oh boy.
So I think you rode with us, Tim, or did you meet us there?
I think I rode with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So me and Juliana and Tim and Caperton drove to North Carolina together in our van, which the van smelled very floral on the way there.
And herbally.
Yeah, very floral herbally on the way there.
I was kind of jealous because you didn't share the flowers with me.
I'm sure I didn't ride
You
with
made
you
me
then.
drive the whole way.
So I think me and Juliana were up front, and then we just had Caperton in the very back seat.
Cheech and Chong.
Yeah. So we get to the hotel, and so Caperton was going to stay in the room with me and Juliana on a rollout bed, and Tim was going to stay with his brother, who was also there. So Juliana and Caperton went on into the hotel to check in, and I was getting the bags. And so I get the bags and I put them on one of those roller carts, and I'm walking in. And as I walk into the lobby, the first words I hear are Caperton leaning across the counter at this little Indian guy on the other side going, "No, you're an asshole." And so apparently
that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
It escalated.
Apparently they had
very
not
quickly.
reserved the little rollout bed for Caperton. And so that started this whole fight. And so I tried to step in and kind of calm it down, but by the time I could get in the middle of it, it was like the guy was like, "Well, I'm just going to cancel your reservation." So
Yeah.
so we lost our hotel room, and Caperton felt really bad, but we were like, "Look, dude, it's cool." We found another room. So we dropped Caperton and Tim off at the fest, and then
this was before the fest. You're right.
yeah,
I forgot about
so
that.
then Juliana and I drove to another little town in North Carolina, which is
check
nearby.
in.
We
Yeah.
checked in, found a hotel, checked in, and then we took an Uber back to the fest. And it Caperton could not have been more apologetic, but to me that was if you're gonna travel with a big personality like Caperton, you're going to have some good
Have a
times.
backup reservation.
But you know what? It's
room.
not all going to be easy, but it's always going to be interesting, And so that's kind of like Haw River. I think these beers, they're not always easy, but they're always interesting. And so that's why I brought this beer.
Aw.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
It is
Yeah.
delicious.
It is.
Yeah. I remember I was in the lobby and I've thought about the story so many times. I don't remember what triggered it. I think there was another room because I wasn't supposed to stay with my brother. Because I remember at the festival at one point I waited till he had some beers in him with his wife there, and I was like, "Yeah, I think I need to crash in your hotel room because ours got canceled."
So maybe that's what it was. Is we got you guys a room,
yeah.
and then
There was just some issue.
somehow that got canceled, and then we were going to have Caperton or something.
Well,
but
the guy behind the counter was he was rude to a different customer or something. And
right before us.
yeah.
So he was already set off.
Yeah,
and
so
then,
Caperton.
So that's how it is.
and then
Exactly.
he was upset because I had on my reservation the extra rollout.
Yes.
And I paid extra for it
Yep. That's what. Yep,
because
you're right.
Caperton was a last minute addition to us because it was only going to be Dave and I originally.
Yeah.
Because I think Caperton was going to go camping. And then that didn't work out. And then he's like, "Hey, can I stay with you?" And I'm like, "Oh, let me see if I can get a cot." And, it worked out, blah, blah, blah. And then that happened.
this is what is it? Morganton or?
Yeah.
Oh,
Morganton.
yeah, Morgan-
yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
It was
On a
like
floor.
it was like a very small
Small
town,
town.
and there was a beer festival in town. So the Days Inn and the two hotels that are
It was
tiny.
slammed,
I mean,
dude.
everything's
Yeah.
just
The
full.
Motel 6 and 8 were booked up.
Yeah.
Gotta try
Like
the Howard
everything
Johnson.
was taken. So we had to go to another neighboring town. But
But you
I
know
mean,
what?
but it worked out.
But I'll tell you, he could lose his temper and like also like destroy people, but he'd also apologize. Like I think that's like so significant. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've known folks like that. They're like, screw that, I'm right, whatever, let's go.
It's
But
like you couldn't even be mad though.
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
No,
And he was standing
you
up for
can't.
the little guy.
His anger was a righteous anger.
It was a biblical righteous anger.
I will smite thee down.
Well, and that's like, and some of the fights he'd get on like online too was like he was looking out for like other people. Like I remember one of the biggest ones that I ever saw was there was a guy in one of the Nashville groups who was displaying anti-Semitic stuff, and he wasn't Jewish, but he was like, all right,
we're done here, buddy.
You're about to be
You're
destroyed.
gone. Yeah. Well, what shall we rate this really wonderful, the Funk the Flying Dragon from Haw River?
Funky.
Yeah, this is a solid 4.
Yeah.
And
got
it's
some
5
cool
years
stuff.
old, man. So
Yeah.
it's aged pretty well. Yeah.
Oh, it has.
Very well.
Cool
It
stuff
has.
going on.
It has.
We're all knowing
Okay.
that happens.
So now we get to me. Me. Okay. Me. So mine is a little different. As one would
normal.
know that I'm a little different. No, this is not a Saison. This is called Mirror Shield, and it is from Hudson Valley Brewery in Beacon, New York. This is a sour IPA with raw wheat, malted oats, milk sugar, lychee, chamomile, and lavender. 7% ABV. Now,
This is that example of non-Saison stuff that Caperton liked.
okay. So you're going to say, why,
What?
Julie, and what? What
Boy?
and why and all of that. Okay, so the first time that Dave and I went to this brewery,
On our big New England.
New England tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the first time that Dave actually saw that neck of the woods.
I didn't even know that part of the country existed.
Man, that's a true Southern boy, right?
Yeah.
Anyways,
Y'all got people up here?
I had been texting back and forth with Caperton beforehand, and I said, hey, is there anything in the area that you're interested in, while we go up here? I said, I'm going to go and hit these specific places and then, open to suggestions too. And when he saw that I was planning on going to Hudson Valley, he's like, oh, dude, you got to tell me exactly what they have on tap. You got to tell me everything. So needless to say, we were, I mean, and it was a cool place. It's a very,
Didn't we get him a hoodie?
we did get him a hoodie.
Yeah.
Yes. And I got the
We
same.
bought him a lot of clothes over the
I know.
so, yeah.
It's not just beer when
Yeah.
we get him close. Yes. Well, it was
Thank you for clothing him.
yeah. Well, no
That
worries.
was for the benefit
It
of
was
everyone.
it was a storm jacket actually. Yeah. Well, I
right.
mean with the hood, but yes,
Yeah.
a storm jacket. So anyways, so I'm texting him like every 5 minutes. You know how like when you're waiting for the first delivery of like, of a new cousin or something like that, you're glued to the phone. Okay. Well, he and I were texting frantically, like all friggin' day. At one point, Dave is like, are you going to get off the phone with him? And I'm like, well, no, but so I'm sending him pictures and showing him pictures of all of the gear that they had for sale. And we're going back and forth and back and forth. Anyway, so one of the beers that I did bring home was this. And I'm like, okay, like he came over to pick up his jacket and I'm like, dude, you got to try this. And, he tried and he did. And he just was like, yeah, this is what I love
this is
about
the kind of
thinking
stuff
outside
he
the
would
box.
like,
Exactly.
There's a ton of flavor in this beer.
Yeah, there really is. There's a lot of really cool things going on. I mean, I kind of like this beer.
I like it. It is all over the place, but it
Yeah.
works.
It does. It's got that creaminess. It's got the milk sugariness, vanilla.
It pops,
It's got
though.
the fruit. You
But
could.
there's something savory about it.
Yeah. It's all of those things. So last time I went home, I happened to see this and I'm,
Was that the one that he dug?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
Mirror Shield?
The same one? Wow.
Yeah.
What an
So-
interesting, just lychee,
I
chamomile,
know.
and lavender, and then lactose. Like, what an interesting, wow.
They do a lot of lactose beers. Like a lot of their beers are lactose sour IPAs or just lactose sours, but
Not in a over the top
Yeah.
kind of way.
Yeah, this is like whoever said savory, like I'm not sure where that's coming from, but it really is kind of cool. Like
They almost use lactose more like part of the grist versus as an adjunct.
Yeah.
It's like we know this is going to be in there as a softener to kind of balance out hops or the different things that are going to go into this.
Yeah, I think it's some of those. What is it? What'd you say? Chamomile, lavender, some of
chamomile,
that?
lavender.
I think it's adding an earthiness that contrasts kind of the sweetness is
For
where
sure.
I'm getting that savory.
It
Sure.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there is that
But
sweetness.
to me, this like takes all the things that Caperton enjoyed. Like he loves scratch and all of the farm to tableness
Weirdness.
of what scratch
Foraging.
weirdness,
and-
Go outside.
foraging of what scratch would do. Right.
Yeah, we found some things.
Yeah,
in
get
this
some stuff out of the
leaf
yard.
pile.
Right. He likes.
I'll fight you on his behalf.
Yeah.
You need to
He likes-
chill. Everyone needs to chill with the scratch.
Yeah. No.
I love scratch.
Dude,
I love it.
Right. Scratch is great.
Yeah.
But he also
Yeah, they
loves
are.
saisons. He loved
Wow.
that crispness, you
Yeah.
know? And then he loved the slushies. And to me, this brewery kind of
The intersection.
yeah,
Although Sparky
it
did
is.
say scratch tasted like dirt. So
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I made a man that was much larger than me by many times.
yeah,
yeah,
he almost struck you.
Yeah.
he did. I really pushed it as hard as I could.
I mean, it does taste like dirt, like in the best
But good
way
dirt.
possible.
Yeah.
Best dirt.
Like when you eat a beet.
Yeah.
It's like the earth.
But
And your
the
poop red.
lychee in here, gives it that sweetness that's like almost cherry, but not cherry.
Oh,
but
interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
And it just balances out everything. And honestly, I could see this as a slushy. I wouldn't want to drink it as a slushy, but I could see it as a slushy.
but he had a pretty big sweet tooth as well.
Yeah, he did.
Which is
Crazy.
one of the few areas where we like our flavors diverted completely. And so there were beers like, I mean, I really enjoyed this one, but there were some of those sweeter beers that he could get down to because he's like, yeah, dude, I still eat candy. He like, he's like, yeah, I'm a child. I just eat some candy. So
Tim's like, oh, I don't eat candy because I'm a grown boy.
I'm
Grown ass man.
Yeah.
I'm a big boy.
Yeah. I don't need no candies.
I'm on my own.
Yeah.
Do you guys want some candy?
But yeah, it's like, he'd like the dry saisons. They've been in my pocket.
Wow.
Maybe you want to come down here and do some chores.
Anyway.
Okay. And we're done here. So anyways, the Mirror Shield from Hudson Valley. What would you guys like to rate it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a good solid 4 on that. Well, actually I'm a 5, but we're going to go with 4 for here.
Yeah, I could have gone. I mean, it's just impressive when you have that many things going on, but they just all work
And some
together.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like if I looked at that on the label, I'd be like,
Nah.
oh, something spilled in a puddle of something. But
Right,
then you
because, like,
taste it and you're like, that's
If
really
you
good.
saw that at the beer store, would you have bought it?
Nope.
No.
Right.
Absolutely not.
No.
I
No.
never would
No.
have. No.
Sounds like a mess, but
Yeah.
it really
Right.
works.
Yeah.
It does.
And that's why, you can't always go by appearances.
True.
You see,
As-
just like good old Boy Caperton,
Yeah, exactly.
big tough dude, but on the inside, he was a big tough dude.
Andy liked candy.
But
He liked his candy.
he did like his candy, and he liked his, prog rock and tropicalia and all kinds of music, and
Yes.
Yeah, and I on the beer subject, I would be remiss to not mention Zebulon.
Oh,
as
gosh,
well.
yes.
Oh,
Yes.
man.
Huge
Mike
fan.
Karnowski.
I mean, so I was looking for a Zebulon Saison, which there have been a couple over the years.
I looked too. I wish I had one on hand.
Yeah, I mean, I was consoled by the fact that I was like, well, I just must have drank them with Caperton.
Yeah.
I
There you
mean,
go.
There are no
that's-
left.
That and Scratch were probably the two that he and I bonded over the most, and
Oh,
made
totally.
trips to those breweries together.
Yeah.
And actually, I just had the Zebulon Batch 2, just like 8 years old now, with good old boy Sean the other day, and it was incredible. It was like a smoked stout, and it was just the second batch they made, and it just held up for 8 years. It was
and,
crazy.
and I would say definitely, I don't think Juliana and I would have really gravitated towards Zebulon near as much if Caperton had. I mean, like,
if it wasn't
talk
for
about
him.
a champion.
Oh, yeah.
of that brewery.
Oh,
from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he's doing cool stuff. Mike was doing cool stuff at Green Man.
Because it was music and like the beer and like just all the different things.
It's all all the things that emulate Caperton so well.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, just
and Mike
art-
got
art-
it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mike understood. I mean, Mike understands it, which is why Zebulon is so distinctive for what it is. I mean, you know, people, the uneducated are going to go to his place and, you know, have a couple beers and enjoy
It's
it. But
whatever. Sure. They weren't bad.
right,
They were
exactly.
fine.
But his attention to detail of beer styles, as well as his love of music, and I mean, a breadth of music, just is everything that like Caperton and I would bond over. In fact, the first time I met Caperton was at Mike's house on his porch in the backyard. We were, I don't even know why. We must have recorded there, and then maybe Caperton came by afterwards with
Anjay.
Yeah, with Anjay.
yeah.
So it was the first time I'm meeting Anjay and the first time I'm meeting Caperton. And he was wearing a Pink Floyd shirt. So immediately,
I remember that. Yeah. It was them and another guy and
Yeah.
another girl. And
and so
it was a really weird
I just
meeting,
was
yeah.
like, okay, tell me your favorite record. And then it went on from there. And like,
What was it? Do you remember?
it was a flip between Dark Side, because he loves Dark Side, but he also loves Umaguma. And I'm like, no, it's Piper that keeps it done. And so we had this like discourse over like,
I'm sorry that you're wrong, though. I mean,
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
No.
That's
It goes
unfortunate.
back to they were both right.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. That's
I'm
it.
like, dude, it's Piper. He's like, no, it's not.
I don't think we can be friends.
And no, but it was great because
Then they had a fist fight in the backyard for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
and then we wrestled, and then it was great.
He
Right.
respected her after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then like we became besties.
No.
But no, I was like instantly just in love with him because he spoke to my progness. He spoke to everything that I, you know, the music that I love
Yeah.
that Dave has to put up with. But
Yes.
anyways.
And Mont.
Good
Well,
music, good beer, and good food. That's what
exactly,
he was about.
right?
And
He was
good, and
about
good
us.
people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, you could always tell if it was Dave was hanging out with somebody, that person was good people. Like that's
Oh,
all he
yeah.
accepted. He didn't half-ass anything. He whole-assed
No.
everything.
I mean, I look back and I
right.
think about it as like you could see his perspective, and it's I don't know, ironic or what, but his perspective you kind of have to see as like life's too short to waste it on bad food, bad music,
That's
bad
right.
beer, bad people.
right.
Right.
So why would I waste my time with that?
Or
Yeah.
kudzu or
That's right.
Nazis. I mean,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
cut all that stuff
exactly.
out.
Right.
I was thinking, I guess we don't have a kudzu report, you know, but no one can do it better than him. So
Well,
No.
that was our thing is we were going to do a kudzu thing, but it would be a hollow.
exactly.
It just wouldn't be the
Reality
same.
show,
We don't
yeah.
have that courage
Yeah.
of conviction.
Right.
or
Right.
I don't hate
hatred.
kudzu nearly as much as Dave did.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to pick up the torch now.
Somebody
though, and
has
just-
to burn that kudzu to the ground. You
That's
take
right.
the kudzu torch.
Yeah. Apparently it's up in the Great Lakes now. So
Son of a.
I know, right? It just keeps spreading.
Yeah. Good old Gal and June and I went out to Calf Killer last weekend.
Oh, nice.
Which is a nice drive out in the country. And we took Highway 70 out instead of the interstate. And
Nice.
oh my gosh. There is kudzu
Everywhere.
in Middle Tennessee.
Caperton, we
Yeah.
need you, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can get any celestial powers,
That's right. We need you to strike it
We
down.
need you to smite some patches.
of Highway 70.
Yeah, you just hit those.
Bring your holy lightning down.
Right?
And you could hit the legislature too while you're at it. I mean, just go
yeah,
for it.
I
Yeah.
think he would.
Burn it all.
Oh no.
It would be fine. Yes. Well, I think that is going to do it for this
think
episode.
Before we do it, though, we should all.
Oh, yes.
Whatever last bit you have in your glass,
Yes.
raise it up
Or get something. Yes.
and let's have one last toast to our fallen brother.
Cheers.
We love you, Caperton.
Yes. That we
Cheers.
do.
Cheers.
Cheers,
That we do.
Caperton.
And on that note, that is going to conclude it for us today. Go to Boy Kendall. Thanks so much for being here.
It has been a real pleasure. I miss that guy so much.
Yeah, we all do. Please tell us about your blog and all that you are doing this summer.
Well, my beautiful wife and I blog at Beer Makes 3, but this year, 2023, we're visiting nearly every brewery in the state of Tennessee. So follow us at bm3.beer.
Good old boy Tim, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always good to get together and always good to reminisce about a great friend.
Good old boy Sparky, thank you for being here.
Glad to be here. And also, that guy was one hell of a hugger.
He was.
One of the best huggers.
He was.
Yeah, he was. Good old boy Dave.
Hey, I'm glad to sit around the table with all you guys, even you, Tim.
Oh, I don't believe it, but I'll take it.
I don't believe it either.
Well, shout out to good old boy Mike and Rev Mark, who had to leave. This is good old gal Juliana. Keep on chuggling, and Caperton, you're always with us.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're listening to us online, do yourself a favor and tap
it in.
the subscribe button.
Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo.
The easiest way to listen to our show is to ask Siri, Alexa, Google, Uncle Larry, or whoever it is that talks to you on your phone. Play podcast Sip Suds and Smokes. We love your feedback, and you can reach us at info@sipsudsandsmokes.com. Our tasting notes flow out on Twitter and Instagram with our handle @SipSudsAndSmokes, and our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news. You'll also be able to interact with the thousands,
Millions and millions
of other fans on those social media platforms. Do us a favor. Take the time to rate this episode if you're listening to us online. That's a big help to us, and we get to see your feedback as well. Come back, join us for another episode, and keep on sipping.
This has been a one-tan hand production of Sip Suds and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see you all next time.